when you find people where that's their purpose, my team is filled with people that love designing, that love getting in the numbers in the books. Like, it is their purpose. So, and that's the fun thing you see offshore and here's the big secret. These engineers, these accountants, these teachers, these salespeople that we find, they make a better living working for you than they do in their own given profession in their country. And so then to be able to work out of their house, to be near their family, they love it. It's you're actually elevating somebody's lifestyle. You're not taking away. They're getting a much more stable, predictable income and lifestyle, and they're doing work that's meaningful for them.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
At Genesis, we help successful chiropractors implement spinal decompression with a fully turnkey system that handles everything from marketing and new patient generation to systems, protocols, and ongoing support. The result? Massive value for your practice and life-changing outcomes for your patients, all without drugs or surgery. This is the next evolution in chiropractic care. Welcome to Genesis.
What's up, Remarkables? Welcome to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Franson, and I'm here with one of the smartest chiropractors that I know, one of my many but favorite business partners, and my best friend, Dr. Alan Miner. Welcome to the call, Dr. Alan.
What's up, my man? Honored to be on here. It's been a minute. Thank you for having me.
It's been a minute. You've probably been on the podcast 3 or 4 times over the last unbelievably 6 years here. And what's cool is we could probably document how team building, staffing, placement, and the evolution and integration of technology has, pretty much paralleled, our relationship and our work in this space. So excited to have this conversation today, as it's totally bleeding edge, cutting edge. We're going to talk about virtual assistants. We're talking about what is the difference between a virtual assistant, a remote workforce? Is it AI? Is it a bot? I'm excited to address these questions because I know there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace. I hear it from our clients all the time. But why don't you just quickly just give us a back on the napkin pencil sketch of who is Chiro Matchmakers? What do you guys do? What problems do you solve? And what goals do you help people reach?
Yeah, well, this was started out of my pain and struggle. I operate 11 clinics today. I've had 6 clinics fail over my 20 years, like ugly, $300,000, might have well lit it on fire, crash and burns. And even as recent as a couple of years ago, had 3 of them go down. So you really talk about operating from scar tissue. I love how you use that term. And this business came out of that because we had some clinics that were really killing it and some that couldn't get going. And I got interested early on in what makes up a good team. So at the core of what we've always done have been behavioral assessments, cognitive assessments. We really got interested in that, and that evolved into finding people. So what we've developed over the last 8 years is we are specialists at finding people for a chiropractic clinic. You can always do these things on your own through job boards, but it's gotten difficult. And for somebody who's really operating a good business, the last thing you have the time or bandwidth, or that you should be spending your time on, is trying to be a recruiter. I mean, it's just an immense amount of work. And so that's our specialty, is finding people for every area of a chiropractor's practice. We're chiropractors. We only work in chiropractic, so we're niched. All of our owners own practices are in chiropractic. I mean, we live and breathe this. And we've really, we've been on the same trajectory, Dr. Stephen, as I think I was with my first clinic. If you came to me in my first 2 years, it was very different than when you came to me at 5 years or 10 years or 15 years in practice. Because we weren't recruiters, we're chiropractors. We've seen this business evolve in a similar way to, we won't talk about DCs much today, but we've literally now mapped out every associate in the profession. So instead of using job boards, we can take jobs directly to somebody who's an associate in a state. That took us years to figure that out and get into that space and to find the right team to do that, and how we work placing in office CAs. But what's energizing and been really fun and solved a lot of problems in my clinic and has solved a lot of problems for us at Chiro Matchmakers, which is why we decided to roll this out to the profession, is we've gotten really good at finding people offshore. And what we've learned is you can find people with college degrees with amazing specialties working for, American Express and Singapore Airlines and some of the best companies in the world in all kinds of different niches. We found, we're finding a civil engineer for your brother right now. It's amazing how the technical expertise and skill set that people offshore have, and the work ethic, I liken it to probably 30, 40 years ago you'd find in the US. So what we're learning is how to find these people that we can plug into a chiropractic practice. And what it does is it stabilizes the business for the owner. When I was probably like most chiropractors, I had a lot of years where if a CA left, I was effed. Like, they knew everything. I didn't know how to log into systems and know the practice base. And so I was always so vulnerable. And when you can start to create, as you teach, really good SOP and KPIs, but now when you can start to segment your workforce so that the people in the practice are in the practice and they're experts at being with people and being in the practice, and the people running behind the scenes in the practice are experts in that, as Dr. DeMartini taught you and I, should be looking every 90 days at delegating. What should I not be doing? What should my team not be doing? And who's an expert at that? So it's been fun because we're in this season now where AI is coming up from every corner. Offshore teams are a play now, and it's going to be a fun conversation because it's evolving at warp speed what it means to be a chiropractic business owner right now.
Oh man, I'm psyched to get into this. So yeah, just for the sake of transparency here, I'm a partner in Chiro Matchmakers. You and I are founders, and I have, many times talked about the constellation approach I take to businesses. Is like, I don't have a portfolio approach. I have these random businesses all over the place. I have a constellation of businesses. And what that means is that I keep, right, there's a sun and there's planets that are orbiting that sun and there's moons that are orbiting those planets, right? So the sun is the chiropractic wellness lifestyle and that industry. Chiropractors are the people that I serve. And the different planets are, in essence, there's a cottage industry grown up around, in essence, our main business, which is our Remarkable Practice coaching business. So long story short, I experienced the pain of our clients growing and succeeding. And what does that mean? It's like they were growing to the point where they were trying to scale. They were trying to create scalability and durability, and the limiting reagent, a major limiting reagent, was trying to find great people, whether that make great CAs or office managers or marketing people. But very, very often it was associate doctors just not being able to find great associates. And we had 40 associate doctors in our practice over about a 17-year period. So I had figured out a few things about what makes associate doctors tick. And I recognize that there are different types of chiropractors. I call them entrepreneurs, business builders, and caregivers. And I knew that you were doing your work parallel to what I was doing with, placement and with the ideal team. So the two of us, being such good friends for such a long time, emptied a bottle of wine one day and said, "Hey, I have a proposition. I think that we've got a business here. Let's help remove the bottlenecks." So my best business ideas are always me scratching my own itch, right? So the reality is that's where this placement business was, the staffing business was born. So I just want everybody to hear that. It's like, that was the evolution of the business. Dr. Allen and our team run the business. I don't run the business. He's the operator of this business, but I was part of the founding team and I'm an owner there, right? So again, just for transparency, but I'm a big champion of this because in the Remarkable CEO podcast, what you hear us talk about all the time is in the ascension from owner operator to CEO, as you make that identity shift, you go from using brute force to using leverage to run and grow your business, right? So what we're always looking for is leverage. Leverage is like the love language of the Remarkable CEO podcast, right? So we're always looking for leverage. And as a CEO, one of your job description bullets is looking to greater leverage so you get more return on the limiting resources of your organization, your time, energy, focus, and money. So I love this conversation we're having about offshore teams. And what does that mean to the chiropractor when it comes to productivity and profitability, right? So that's really the direction I'd like to take it in, okay? And if I could fill in even more blanks here, of my 6 businesses, all of them are remote. I'm in the studio by myself. So there's a whole team around me here. It's like my team members are all around the world, right? So 27% of our clientele, our coaching clients, are in Australasia, right? So there was a immersion going on in New Zealand last week. I wasn't there. There was a immersion with several hundred people in Sydney, Australia 2 weeks ago. I wasn't there, right? So it's the durability that you can create with this global workforce. So I want to address a point of confusion that I hear from our clients when we say a VCA, a virtual chiropractic assistant. Are we referring to somebody who's like a live person that's offshore? Is this a AI bot? Is this a merger of this? Help us understand what are the difference between those different terms, because I do think there's a confused marketplace here.
Yeah, we actually trademarked that term a few years ago, and so we own the trademark on virtual CA. But the truth is, some of our good friends over at Sked, Kawaki, there's different people who use that term VCA, and they tend to use it with AI. When we talk about virtual CA, we mean a live, real person working remotely in your clinic. So we're starting to change our vernacular a little more to say remote, because VCA, it's almost like wellness, right? It's something that we had early on and it's evolved quickly into something else, so we don't fight it. But we still use VCA on our website, virtual chiropractic assistant. But when we're talking about it, we're talking about a real person helping you out in your practice.
So I can tell you my own personal experience with this. All right. So I always love for instance or examples. Right. So for instance, a big pain point in the Remarkable practice with our coaching clients is getting their data. Chiropractors, I'm talking to you right now. Some of my clients are probably listening right now. You drive us crazy because as coaches, you're asking us to fly at night without radar if you don't share your data with us. So there's a couple of problems. Either they don't track their data, or they don't know how to retrieve their data out of their EHR, or they can't convey their data into a format where they can share it or we can read it, et cetera. So we've spent last literally 10 years trying to move all of our clients onto this, hey, data, let's create data on one platform. I've worked with some of our favorite EHRs, all the ones you're thinking of right now. I've met with every owner, president, tech team, tried to give them our vital signs program and our remarkable reporting system, et cetera. And they would build APIs. And I just didn't want to be in the API business. And it never really got any traction with these different EHRs because they've got their own fish to fry. Long story short, we employ a whole team of virtual chiropractic assistants that we've trained up on our system on how to get data. And we literally send those teams into our clients' offices virtually, and they descend on the team and they teach the team exactly how to farm the data out of their software, how to populate it onto these reports. And the reporting system itself is self-populated once you do that. So being able to have a team of virtual assistants that are brilliant, they're college educated, they speak English, they fully understand, our chiropractic systems, the TRP system, the metrics, and they can we send them in to our clients' offices virtually. They pull out the data and trained that client's staff how to actually farm this data, populate those reports. So now they're getting the data that they want in their reports. We're, as the coaches, get to see their data. So now they're running a more data-driven business and making better informed decisions. And we are data-driven coaches that are now coaching them from a data-driven perspective. And it's so incredibly cost effective to do it that way. We've built out a whole team of these people and with great depth because it is so cost effective. So that's an example of that's how I've personally leveraged this. This was a big pain point for me. And it's absolutely geometric, the results that we can get for our clients when we're actually getting that data real time and it's accurate and it's flowing to us. So, hey, thanks team. Nice work.
Yeah, we, same boat. To cut to the chase, we place these people for chiropractors. It's $9.87 an hour. Just to give everybody some context on, you find somebody with a college education in the US, you're probably paying $50,000 to $100,000 to have that person on your team. Well, now you've got access to somebody with that level of not just education, but now they've got the experience behind it. And we're really leveling up the workforce for a team by going offshore. And at $9.87, you're not having to mess with PTO and, payroll taxes, and it becomes a line item expense for people. What's been interesting, Stephen, around the metrics for our clinics is, even as your coaching's evolved, I don't think 3 months go by that I don't have a conversation with you that you're measuring something differently. 2 years ago, return on ad spend and cost of acquisition per customer were not terms in our vernacular, ROAS and CAC and ratios of ROAS to CAC. And even the other day, you went off for 10 minutes on how you tier out lifetime value measurements and the formulas. And so,
LTV CAC ratios. Yeah.
yeah, so, like we tried to outsource this to different companies' AI, but the fact is we finally just realized our data changes so quickly what we want, and to have to always then rebuild a system and API connection, I know this doesn't sound sexy, it's just easier to have somebody smart go in and grab the data and calculate it for us. So on a metric side of our businesses, same thing over at Chiro Matchmakers. I mean, we're just constantly drilling down on, we want to know what our CAC is there, our ROAS, but also things like our placement times. I alluded to earlier how we've built this list that I think is probably the best list in all of chiropractic. We know who the owners are in each state, who the associate doctors are in each state. Well, how did we do that? Through a long, heavy list over several years with our offshore team. And then locally in our chiropractic clinics, it's really fun when you bring on somebody like this, because the first reaction for a brick and mortar business, I think people tend to first think, am I losing my job? And then you pretty quickly, they realize, no, this is so we can have you focused on your best strengths and talents. And typically that's interacting with the patients, doing, the closing care plans on the day two, on getting people into workshops. It's all the interactions. And so then you start asking team members what's not getting done, what should be getting done, what do you hate doing, what's monotonous, what's the owner spending too much time doing, or the founder that isn't really giving their highest value to what moves the clinic forward. And oftentimes people start out like, I don't know if I have enough work. Like, what would I use? Like, I have them do my data. TRP can help me with that, or I bring my own person on. That's only a few hours. But then the wheels start clicking with the team. Well, who's mapping out people in the schedule? Who's monitoring our text platforms? Who's dealing with the EOBs? Who's dealing with the super bills? Who's editing our content for our social media? Who's posting that? Who's managing it? Who's doing customer satisfaction surveys so we can, score our service levels? Who's answering our phones? Who's doing our lead follow? It just starts snowballing. And early on, Dr. Stephen, when we were both starting out on the come up, we learned the importance of having an executive assistant. And, one of our friends and mentors who passed away last year, Rick Sapio, he used to use the word leverage and probability. Those were his two favorite words, which you use leverage. One of the first things he taught was you better get a great EA and you better pay him six figures. And he has a book, Managing Up by Roseanne Badowski. You have him read that book. And if you really want to go places as an entrepreneur, the most important person you hire is that EA. And so as long as I've known you, you've had Nina, who's run that for you. And so, but let's be honest, with the margins on my chiropractic clinic, a lot of times it's like $100,000. How do I make that work? That's back in the day, that was more than I was paying our associates. So the answer is these remote people offshore. You can find these executive assistants, these remote people that, and Steven's such a great person to emulate. If you're in his ecosystem, you see how he schedules things. You see how he operates his businesses. You see the reporting that he demands of the things he's involved with. How do you get that? If you're really evolving into a CEO of a chiropractic business, you've got to start having a team you trust. And especially with AI integration, Dr. Stephen, there's 10 new AI products a day. Literally, I see on social media. I don't have time to shop them and sit on every sales call and read and my team's busy in the offices. So who do I use for that? I have an amazing EA. There's not a day goes by now that hey, get on a call with them. I want to shop that competitor. Hey, what's this AI? Can we use this somewhere? The tool that person becomes, then I'll extend it out. I know travel, just coordinating the travel of my life. This takes time. You don't just hire somebody and you let them manage your schedule. So you have to start building trust. And when they can start as a VCA, an offshore remote person, doing metrics, entering EOBs, creating super bills, doing social, whatever it is, there's an evolution as they build trust where they start to integrate more and more. And eventually you start to get your time freedom as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, where you're really able to step into your strengths. And that's when running businesses gets fun. You find these amazing associate docs who have the best hands ever, who just have zero interest in running a clinic, but you give them a great home. They can show up and be the best chiropractic ever and make a great living. And there's the support behind, it's something we're starting to get people call us who, as a benefit, they hire a VA or an EA for their new doc. So they don't have to be the scribe for their notes. Like that was a new one, a call I had last week. It's a value add. Hey, I want to bring an associate. I'm going to give you an assistant if you work for me too. So many applications for this across all business, Dr. Stephen, but I think where you sit and what you teach and you emulate, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, this is something that felt disconnected for so long. And still, that's our typical call at chiropractic. Well, how's this work? They're offshore. What if they don't show up? What if they have connectivity issues? How do I know they're really doing their work? It's very basic questions that you've had to figure out. I've had to figure out. Our clients figure out the answer behind that. It's no different than hiring an office CA. You train them, you set KPIs, you have check-ins. You don't worry about that with Nina. How do I know Nina's doing her job? It's because
all I worry about is their outcomes. I don't worry
Exactly.
about tasks or time, or it's like, I want outcomes. So at the end of the day, here's your 5 KPIs. All of these KPIs they're driving revenue and profit. These are your 5 numbers. These are your goals. And we meet and all we talk about these 5. I don't care how long it takes you. It's like, at the end of the day, outcomes are what matters. And, we need to shift our perspective of like, hey, how do I babysit and micromanage these people that aren't in my office? Like, are you kidding me right now? Is that what you want to do? Or do you want the outcomes? So it is a shift, man. And that's the owner operator in you that's making that noise, right? So versus the CEO, what the CEO recognizes is what we should be doing is using our money to buy somebody else's time, energy, focus, and talent, to free up our time, energy, focus, and talent to make more money, right? So, if everybody wants to make $1 million a year. Well, you want to make $1 million a year, it's $500 an hour, right? That's if you're working 40 hours a week. So it's like, all right, so what are you doing that you could be making $500 an hour, chiropractors or business owners here, and anything that's less than that, that's not, uniquely tied to your purpose or you're uniquely gifted in the world to do and doesn't drive that financial machine, hedgehog concept, delegate it, right? So to be looked at, it's like, how do I use my money to free up my time, energy, focus on money? You're buying your time back. You're buying your focus back. You're buying your energy back that you should be able to redirect into higher productive and higher priority and higher profitability activities, period. That's what I spend all of my time doing. How do I free myself up to do more of the things that only I can do that pay me so handsomely, right? So, and this is like a secret weapon.
Yeah, it is. And I love how you break that down to $500 an hour. That's tangible. It's something everybody can focus on. And yet, even I'm guilty of it. You all of a sudden you catch yourself sometimes like, why am I the one that still drives me crazy? Why does somebody calling me for a code on a credit card that they need to pay? There's so many of these things. Why am I filling out this tax form right now? Why am I going to the city to get a business all of a sudden you start to become allergic once you step into this. And again, 100%. Back to Dr. DeMartini, this is a clear thing. When you find people where that's their purpose. My team is filled with people that love designing, that love getting in the numbers in the books. Like, it is their purpose. So, and that's the fun thing you see offshore is, and here's the big secret. These engineers, these accountants, these teachers, these salespeople that we find, they make a better living working for you than they do in their own given profession in their country. And so then to be able to work out of their house, to be near their family, they love it. It's you're actually elevating somebody's lifestyle. You're not taking away. They're getting a much more stable, predictable income and lifestyle, and they're doing work that's meaningful for them. And then comes the matchmaking. And you named this business, Stephen. So I've got to give you full credit, which to this day is hilarious. How many people want us to be a dating service? But it was the genius in how you named it, because it really is matchmaking, and doing that in another country has become our secret weapon. You can figure this stuff out. There's job boards overseas. You can figure out how to do payrolls. It's not hard work. It's not easy, but it's a pain in the ass. So it's back to the same concept. What are you trying to leverage here? And when we're talking about finding A+ people, we've done this so long. There's a lot of, there's general job boards, the equivalent of an Indeed in the US. We find very few of our associate doctors on Indeed. That's where kind of the lower lot of society of performers live on, so we've learned what niches to go into to find specialists for what job that a chiropractor needs done. We average interviewing about 200 people for each job. We send the 5 video clips of the 5 best people. So not having to do that lift to have it done for you, and then not have, there's still exchange rates we deal with. There's best practices to keep these VAs paid well that we integrate into that 987. We make it easy for the chiropractor, so you're not wasting time, learning this whole other thing that has nothing to do with you delivering the best care, the best healing, or motivating your team, or bringing people into your clinic. But it should be said, it's not rocket science what we're doing here. It's just applying the knowledge. And I think you said it, the secret kind of sauce, the secret weapon behind what we've figured out in scaling businesses and bringing it to chiropractors that in the past, when I was trying to do it, when I was on the come up, I wasn't accessible to find this level of person. It really wasn't. So
100%. And I love how Hormozi teaches this 4 vectors that you can work with, when it comes to a unique success proposition or a sales proposition for your product. And it's like, you can do things faster, you can do them easier, you can do them safer, you can do them cheaper, right? So, and if you own one of these, you win. If you own 2 of these, you dominate. I'm telling you, this ticks all 4 boxes, right? So it's faster. You can try to figure it out on your own. We know we have so many people who try to figure it out on their own. It's like, I've tried to figure it out on my own. If you want to waste time, you're wasting money, right? So, and it's taken years to get a system in place. So it's faster to get to the outcomes you're looking for. It's safer because we've figured it out, right? So this process of finding the right people, matchmaking them, setting it up so that it's a win-win-win scenario, and you don't just have people that are turning over and no showing you, what have you, right? So, and then it's easier because you don't have to figure it out yourself, right? So it's just like literally like, hey, I'm going to leverage you guys to do it, which here's my money. Use your time, energy, focus, and talent to figure this out for me. And it's cheaper. It's cheaper than trying to hire somebody inside of your own practice and have them work as a CA. So I think it ticks all 4 boxes. And again, it's certainly been my own experience. I'll tell you, the one thing I was concerned about was quality, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are going to be face-to-face. Like, what I needed them to do is be face-to-face with our paying customers, right? So I'm like, I have sophisticated clients. I'm like, I can't have anybody that's less than one of our core values, remarkable, as an experience. And then you meet these people that you're working with. And I'm like, I'll use Key as an example, because we're talking about our remarkable reporting system. Oh my gosh, she's a freaking genius, right? So we have like a lot of really smart people on our team. And everybody just defers to her. She's like, I'm like, can that be done? And other people are like, I think it can be done. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a way to figure it out. And she's like, oh yes, this is easy. You go like this. And she just does it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she is a genius. This is not a sidestep or a downgrade. This is an upgrade. And the idea that you're actually able to bring somebody in and be like, well, just because they're a quote unquote remote, everybody on my team is remote. This has been an upgrade to our business. So I'm a happy customer.
Yeah, we've seen that on the video stuff, the editing, there's systems, there's AI, but man, the artistic capability of some of these people to put these videos together. And where we also started to notice it was how many people were rising through the ranks at Chiro Matchmakers as our recruiting team. Like same thing, interacting with our clients, interacting with associate doctors, and we started to realize our best performers were our offshore team, which was totally counterintuitive to how we stepped into this. So, if nothing else, take away from this video, there are great people in the world waiting to help you and serve in your practice alongside of you remotely that you never would have had access to had the world not evolved to the place it's at now.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Get the outcomes you're looking for, save time, save money, save yourself the frustration and the brain damage of trying to do this themselves. How do they get in touch? How do they learn more, Dr. Al?
Chiromatchmakers.com. All of our offerings are there, our DC placement, our in-office CA placement, and our VCA placement. You can schedule a call. We'll talk it down with you, see what you're looking to do. At the very least, you'll always leave a call with us with a lot of value, learning what it is you're trying to accomplish. We really pride ourselves on that, being chiropractors. We're here to serve people. And if we leave that call and we're not the right fit, but you learn something, then we're good with that. So we'd love to talk with you. And if you have questions about how this would work, we've probably seen it. We've probably done it. We are so liberal with giving away best practices to make this as easy as possible. If you have concerns about the phone systems, about security, about HIPAA, we can guide you through all of that. It's one of the advantages to partnering with us. We're very open with the best practices that we see our clients use.
Awesome, brother. You know what we say around here, what the world needs now is chiropractic. And what chiropractic needs right now is more successful chiropractors. Mm-hmm. So thanks, CMM, for helping make that a reality.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, man.
Please stick around for more business insights from this week's bonus interview with our remarkable success partner, dedicated to helping you more successfully help more people. Enjoy.
Hi, everyone. We have the very special guest today, Dr. David Fletcher from CLA, an amazing man, a good friend of TRP, a good friend of mine. So, David, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Malcolm, it's going to be in the most interesting 10 minutes of anybody's life here because they get to listen to what we usually talk about. But anyhow, it's wonderful to be invited and to be a part of the TRP family. We relish every moment at CLA that we get a chance to, interact more closely with TRP clients. And I think the real reason is that when we take a look at the values that drive both of our companies, there's really no separation at all. We finish each other's sentences, so it's a wonderful experience.
That is for sure. You've been personally. I've used CLA your services since 2000, so 25 years. I've been a CLA client, integral part of my practice. So. A lot of the listeners, most people would be aware of CLA, but what I really want to know, and I know what our listeners want to know, is what are the problems you actually solve for a practice?
Well, I think one of the most important things that we focus on and really use as a solution for everyone, it's not even a style of practice, it's for everyone, is what we could determine or call the critical shift. Is that there's this moment in a chiropractor's experience and a patient's experience of where you have to take it beyond what their expectations are in the delivery of your care. We know that the vast majority of people entering into a chiropractic office aren't coming in and saying, arouse my innate. What they are saying is, I have a problem. And so we need to convert those people to hear our story. And one of the things that matters, and what chiropractic has always been about, is looking deeper into the nervous system. Right from the very start of the origins of our profession, we talked about the tone of the nervous system. And so scanning really opened that door. It didn't dismiss X-ray, it didn't dismiss orthoneuro or anything like that. It just said, what if we could look into the functioning nervous system? What if we could track that, and then we could solve the problem of developing responsible care plans, communicating to our patients the positivity of what it is. And really it comes down to attraction, retention, and conversion, which is why I said we are TRPites when it comes to that.
So let's get specific here. And I know that CLA helps in all areas of practice through attraction, conversion, retention. So how specifically does it solve people's problems if they're having attraction problems? How does CLA solve that particular problem?
I think it usually begins with somebody, a parent or an adult coming in to have the first visit, and it's going to be pain-based. It's going to be, I have a problem, because we haven't oriented them otherwise. And they start to realize that you as an examiner, you as a team, have the ability to really listen to them, but take the whole examination and reporting process deeper than what they thought. And so you set the stage for them to hear the story that you want them to hear, which is about, when it all comes down to it, the problem we really all face is conversion to a lifetime wellness patient. Let's just say that. We know that that's a dream, but we also know that it's a reality. I could look at your practice and I would see that the retention that leads to that, not everybody stays for a lifetime. You and I did. We became chiropractors. But the reality is that it opens doors and it's an invitational model. So that's the number one thing. It brings highly visual. Well, you taught me this, is that it makes the invisible visible. Yeah. It allows the patient to have a clear understanding of what you are directing your attention to, and it vividly displays it in color and in scores and in trackable metrics.
Yeah. It's one of the benefits, and we know that 70% of the population are primary visual. So that when they can actually see on a screen, on an iPad, or whichever way you deliver the reports, which the amazing inroads that CLA has had over the last, I don't know how many years it is, going from very wired machine to these wireless machines and now to the iPads, and the reporting is just amazing. So when they can see it, when they can see how their nervous system is functioning, how does that, I know that it improves retention, hands down. The conversion process. So how does it specifically solve the problems of conversion retention?
Well, conversion and retention is really easy, because now you're not using plan, can, ham care planning. You're using the exact data that is presented to you in terms of a three-dimensional neurofunctional exam. We're looking at heart rate variability to get a global picture of what their stress and adaptability are. We're looking at their postural energy expenditure using EMG, and we're looking how deep it's going with their thermography. We build a complete model, or a report card, really is how we describe it, a report card called the Core Score, that allows the patient and the doctor to have a trackable and identifiable goal. And yes. Who doesn't want a goal? And so we allow the patients to get on this journey of saying, well, first we have to release the tension, then we start to build new strategies. And instead of it taking a day or two or a week or so to feel better, we have a plan that we can put in place with it that originates with their initial problem, but can take them several months down the way, and as we know, several years down the way. Yeah, that's the retention conversion. You did ask about attraction, and I didn't really finish that because I got off on a usual
on a tangent.
But almost immediately, this is one of the most interesting things we see, and I know you can comment to this, is that we see the immediacy of family members coming in. Almost immediately, when a parent is scanned or a grandparent is scanned, they are so enthusiastic about wondering what a well-child checkup looks like. Remember, we're not into the pathology business, we're into the possibility business. And so when a parent sees that they'd like to have a child scan, how else are you going to examine a child's nervous system unless you're scanning them? And so they want a baseline. They want to know that before their child gets sick or before performance becomes an issue, that they have a baseline in place with you.
Yeah. And it's that baseline. I know personally in my practice, and as I said, been using for 25 years. What I realized is that the people that I thought were getting better, as in their symptoms were getting better, when I scanned them, I realized, yes, their symptoms are better, but their nervous system is improving, but it's got a long way to go. And that's the retention thing you're talking about. So I found that my retention jumped massively when I started using CLA all those years ago, and it is an integral part of my practice.
And it takes a lot of stress off of the clinician, off the chiropractor, because first off, you're building the conversations not on what is good for what they might perceive as the practice, but is really good for them. And one of the things that we know is that they need chiropractic care at a certain level. We know that, and we can track that. But there comes a time when they now can move away from needing it, like intentionally needing it, to where they can choose to be inviting themselves into it.
Correct.
And when we take a look at these emerged practices like yours, and we have thousands of offices around the world, so we know exactly what we're doing here. We see practices that were the average practice of the people we're talking to is what we would refer to as a 20-80 split. 20% an 80-20 split. 80% of the early starts and the practice volume in a symptom-based practice is indeed short-term symptom-based. But we see the flip happening, that only 20% of people in a practice, of a mature practice that has built scanning and built the idea of retention into it, actually are just learning to become part of the 80%. In other words, that there's this natural progression from needs being met to being invited into this long-term better strategy called vitalism.
Yeah. And this is, yes, we talk conversion, and a lot of time, effort, energy is put into that conversion process, the initial one I'm talking about.
Yeah,
so your day one, your day two process there. Then when you're looking at re-exams and doing this, and you mentioned goals before. I remember one of our patients, their practice, their actual goal was to improve their core score. And that was their goal. They said it. They said, I want my heart rate variability to be this number. That was their goal.
So it is.
So as far as re-examinations and that continuing process over time, how does it really assist people to give them a pathway beyond that?
Well, we instituted something that I glamorously refer to as a rule of 12. And basically it says that when we're building care plans, it's our responsibility to report back to the patient at least every 12 visits. Mm-hmm. And so every 12 visits, we set in a cycle where an examination must go. And let's just say that the patient's down to every couple of weeks or whatever. We never go beyond a 3-month window. In other words, that's the standard that we believe, looking at the neurofunctional changes that, both positive and negative that occur. We want the clinicians, we want the team to be constantly reviewing the why behind the patient's attendance in your practice. And that doesn't mean that there's this fear-based model. It's an inspiring model to say just what you said. Look, I've really come a long way, but I can see there's way more that I could achieve. Yes. And that's very powerful.
Yeah. And then the ones you have who may be on maintenance care, whatever that is, and then they see their next scan and they see that it's actually, it's not maintaining, it's actually deteriorating. And then it's very motivating for them to get back under corrective care or more wellness care. So I know it's such a good tool. I know, I think all the coaches in TRP use it. So if it works for us, it works for anyone, right? So
it does. And it's so interesting because you could take away a lot of that anxiety as being, we all had it when we were early on in practice and otherwise, and we didn't know exactly how we were going to communicate the needs of a patient and what we could provide. And this just gives you a starting point, but a continuation. You don't have to make it up. Meaning, and I'm not suggesting we do like that, that'd be fallacious, but the reality is that you've got the tools right now to say, I understand now why you keep getting, an immune response that isn't working the way it should. I understand now why, your body doesn't heal completely after you've had an episode. It's because there's this chronic nerve tension. We have a plan. We know how to release it. We know how to rebuild it. We know how to get you revitalized. So stick with us. We've got a plan. And they hear that. They know it.
They know it. Yes. So, one of the big upgrades that you've made, as well as going to iPad versions with bridges and so forth, is you are a brilliant communicator. Everyone knows this, but you have so the ability to communicate the scans is what's really needed, isn't it? So that's all part of the package, if you like. Is how do you explain these?
Well, it was so exciting because it was so funny because in the early days, I started in 97, so I know exactly where we were going with it. You'd get this colorful piece of paper and you'd hand it to the patient and kind of go, you've got, some issues I got to deal with here. And there was this, they talk about this concept called MIGO, my eyes glaze over. And the patient go, I get you really are excited about this, but what does it really mean?
What does it mean?
And so, best intentions, right? But when we rebuilt the new software, which is called Synapse, and we said, we in our dream bucket, we said, let's build it to however it was. I was able to build a continuation plan through the core score communication. And so it actually is designed, it has a huge library behind it that looks at all the different iterations of the scores. And it literally cherry picks out a conversation based upon the data that you are observing on the scan. So basically, it allows me to be communicating the results to your patients. And it's really fun to do that. So it builds an individualized report that compares the data from previous exams and then builds a very understandable communication. And then after that, we said, well, nobody understands you anyways, David. So why don't we let educators do the real thing? And so they took that and built it into a very, very condensed but educated model. It's really quite something.
It is. It's very simple. And there's just an enormous amount of resources available to people so that they can communicate the scans, because that's part of the Hawthorne effect. You do need to communicate in a way that they understand, which it's really good at that. Okay. So, I know we can talk for hours, but how do people, what's their next step? They're thinking of scanning. They know this is a missing piece. They want to build more retention or attraction or conversion or whatever they want to do. What's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Well, certainly we're a wide open book, but one of the things that they have in this resource is they have you, meaning they have TRP and they have their coaches. So have a conversation initially with your coach, and they're going to direct you towards us anyways. But to bypass the coaches, I'm joking when I say that, but to get directly to us, it's so easy. It's called insightcla.com. And I want to share with anybody who's in here that there's an automatic TRP discount when you start to get involved with TRP and CLA. We're very generous because we love you guys. And so we have there aren't very many, but we have a preferred alliance relationship. And so anybody who comes and decides that it's time for them to either upgrade or to purchase new, they can be assured that they're going to be getting by far the very best deal that is available on the planet. Which I'm very proud to say. We also offer 0% financing for a 12-month window of time, which I think is exceedingly generous.
It is.
But we love that. And any way that we can get more people scanning and more people engaged in the community of TRP and CLA, we're 100% behind that.
Absolutely. So I know that you are the TRP clients who are in North America or come to the North American immersions. You'll find David there. You can see it there as well. But get in contact with CLA, and just do yourself a favor. Basically, this is an integral part of many TRP practices. You're probably in the minority if you're not. So get into it, I reckon. So please, so good to see you on Zoom here. Can't wait to see you in person again very soon. So
I think we're probably the only partner of the North American crew that actually does the connection with the Australian crew. And there's a real reason for that, is that we have such a passion play with New Zealanders and Australians. We've always had such a relationship down there. For the last 2 years, the weirdest thing is that my calendar has been conflicted on the TRP Australia dates. We're both busy, but mine just hasn't meshed. But I promise, and I mean this on the greatest time, I promise to come and participate down in Australia.
Nice.
So I can't wait.
I can't wait. Well, we'll see you soon. And as I said, get in contact with CLA and get scanning.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.